Donald Trump knows how unpopular he is, but the people around him really know how unpopular he is, which is why they just forced him to cancel abruptly on one of his favorite days of the year. But more so than the humiliation of this leak coming out exposing how Donald Trump's inner circle knows that the boos drive him crazy, it shows us something deeper happening in Trump's administration, which is them preemptively working to save face with the president, or do whatever they can to limit the damage he has done to himself. And that has manifested itself not just in Donald Trump canceling on this event that we're going to get into, but of course, doing whatever he possibly can to steal the upcoming midterms. And that is the important reporting I want to start with from Chris Hayes right here before we get into what Donald Trump abruptly canceled. I want to start with what he's trying to cancel.
Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. As you know, it is already 2026. We're in the midterm election year. 9 months away from Election Day. 9 months today. And Donald Trump and members of his administration are already making moves to try to illegitimately take control of the American election system. Now, Trump doesn't want Republicans to lose the House and the Senate. One big reason in particular, I think, that he keeps making very clear.
You got to win the midterms, because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached.
I don't think he's wrong, and I really think he's very obsessed with legacy right now, that he does not want to go for his third impeachment. He's obsessed with keeping control of Congress. I think, honestly, primarily for that reason, because it's not like he cares about passing legislation or cares about other people's electoral fortunes. But the thing is, he's obsessed about keeping Congress, and he has no real plan to do it normally or legitimately, right? Despite all the bravado and the constant boasts about never being more popular, they know the score. The administration actually understands that Trump is in trouble. The Republican Party's in trouble. And it's not just polling. Look at this. You might have seen this over the weekend. A Texas special election that happened over the weekend in which a Democrat flipped a red state Senate seat, winning by 14 points in a district Trump carried by 17 points in 2024. That's a 31-point swing. That is almost literally unheard of. Now, don't expect a blowout like that in November. You're going to have turnout that's going to be much higher. That was a low turnout election. Democrats tend to do better in those. But even a 10-point swing in the midterms would wipe out the Republican majority. Heck, a 5-point swing in the midterms would wipe out the Republican House majority. So they know what they're facing. They see the writing on the walls. And they know they don't right now, unless things change dramatically, have a path to just outright winning a free and fair election. Most normal incumbents who aren't Donald Trump see their party suffer losses in the midterms, right? So Donald Trump is exploring other plans. The first plan was to gerrymander congressional maps. Why leave it up to voters to choose Republicans when Republicans could simply choose their voters? And so Donald Trump tenaciously, constantly pushed red states to redraw their districts to be even redder, right? To change their congressional districts mid-decade. This never happens, right? Texas did it. Missouri did it. Ohio still may. But Trump's pressure generated a backlash. First, among Republicans in, for instance, Indiana, who just told him to take a hike, wouldn't do what he wanted, despite J.D. Vance going there in person, inviting him to the White House, right? And also in blue states like California, which defensively redrew its maps. And so when all is said and done, between California, what's happening in Virginia, maybe Maryland, the fact Indiana wouldn't do it, the whole thing made the gerrymandering war a wash. It could actually, in the end up net benefiting the Democrats because Donald Trump started this fight. So now midterm election year is upon us. That gerrymandering plan has really failed. I think they thought this was like their secret weapon, right? Their ace in the hole. No. So now it's time for the Republican plan B. And that is, and they're saying this out loud, to fully seize the machinery of American voting.
We are only a few weeks, maybe days, in bad polling away from Donald Trump just saying, oh, quite frankly, I think we should just cancel the midterms. He said it before, but to say it publicly and proudly that is not too far away. That's not distant. So my plea to Democrats, start working now. Figure out what you are going to do when that day comes. We cannot be surprised. We cannot be on defense. We have to be on offense. That is what you need to do right now. because the offense has worked in other areas, like whenever Donald Trump goes out booing him relentlessly. That's a little bit of offense, and it led Donald Trump, who was so offended, but more so his inner circle, was to cancel on his favorite day of the year. Now, I speculated on this last week, but now it's been confirmed, and I want to get into the reporting from Zateo.
Trump is too scared to go to the Super Bowl after his aide's humiliating warning. Donald Trump will not be attending the Super Bowl after being warned he would likely be resoundingly booed by the crowd inside the stadium, according to a report. The thin-skinned president had previously offered the unlikely excuse that he would not attend the NFL championship game between the Seattle Seahawks and New England Patriots, on Sunday in Santa Clara, California, because it was too far away, and because he liked the planned performers Bad Bunny and Green Day. However, several of Donald Trump's advisors have now told Zateo that the 79-year-old was urged not to attend the game in the deep blue Democratic state because he would likely receive a less than friendly reception. Clips of Trump being booed loudly in front of tens of thousands of spectators and potentially more than 100 million viewers at home going viral would be another thing we don't want right now, one Trump advisor told Zateo. Trump was met with a mixture of boos and cheers when he attended last year's Super Bowl between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles, but since then his approval rating has plummeted across the board, with the president losing support over his handling of the economy and his hardline immigration policies, particularly in the wake of the killing of 2 U.S. citizens by federal agents in Minneapolis.
So it has been confirmed. I speculated last week that Donald Trump's saying that the Super Bowl was too far away when he has a plane that goes wherever he wants, whenever he wants, and quite quickly, I might add. It's not a particularly slow jet. Air Force One. Yeah, I speculated that Donald Trump was afraid of the booze, and now we have it confirmed that Donald Trump is, in fact, afraid of the booze, and everyone around him recognizes that fact. They recognize that it drives Donald Trump crazy, and they recognize that is what is going to come, which is also part of the reason, aside from the fact that Batman showed up. We talked about this, that the Super Bowl, which was going to have ICE agents roaming the arena and roaming the whole property in Santa Clara, why that's been canceled as well. Kristi Noem said I was going to do a voice, but I could do a Botox face. In my impression of Kristi Noem, said that they'd be sending ICE agents to the Super Bowl and quietly, very quietly walked that back because they understand, again, just how unpopular that Donald Trump is in this moment right now, and it is largely because of ICE. I would say that that is the issue that is dominating people's minds most of all right now. So, Donald Trump and his thugs canceling on descending on Santa Clara, I'd say is a huge victory. Not just for the safety of the people in that community, not just for Super Bowl Sunday, but to just break Donald Trump's spirit. I know that's not the most important thing in the world, but every time we beat him, it is a win, and it shows them that they can't just do whatever they want, that they do back down. I think that's important, again, in light of where I wanted to start with Chris Hayes and how Donald Trump is, once again, what would you say, assembling the coup crew. Is that their nickname? Yeah, it is important to beat him morally and legally, and we've done a lot of winning, and we love the winning when it comes to those legal battles. You know, whenever I talk with Jamie Raskin, I ask him about this because it really gets him fired up. He's talking about, over 95% of these injunctions, whenever we go to court, we're winning 95%. I'd say that's a pretty good clip. Now, because the Supreme Court is the Supreme Court, makes it a little difficult to feel like the legal system's working for us. I'd say it makes it very difficult to feel like the legal system is working for us. But if we keep on fighting back, we're going to keep on winning. Batman went to a council meeting in Santa Clara, and now there is no more ICE at the Super Bowl. So if Batman can do it, we can do it. And we got to make it clear. And that's why Jamie Raskin was calling out the abuses of power that have been coming down from Donald Trump's least popular agency right now in ICE. And I want to take a listen to our favorite congressman.
I just want to remind people that Kristi Noem won't be secretary forever. Donald Trump won't be president forever. Suggesting that 3 years from now we could have a Democratic president, we could have a new attorney general. That Justice Department would be empowered to do real criminal investigations of these shootings, of these beatings, and of these arrests. And so those agents may all get a federal pardon from Donald Trump so that the federal government won't be able to do that in the next administration. But without that pardon, this remains an open possibility for the next Justice Department to investigate, doesn't it?
Of course. Well, we're going to have real attorney generals again. People like Robert F. Kennedy, people like Edward Levy, people like Janet Reno. We're going to have a real Justice Department again. We're going to have a real criminal division again that brings criminal actions against government officials who violate the civil rights of the people. We are going to restore and we're going to fortify and improve the rule of law. And we know it's not as simple as just turning the clock back to the time before Donald Trump, because obviously those were the conditions that allowed for Donald Trump and MAGA to penetrate our society and take over our government. We're going to have to fortify democracy and freedom to make them much stronger going forward. And having been through this nightmare together and with the heroic resistance and opposition that we're seeing all over the country, we're going to make it through. We need to obviously mobilize the vote and keep winning the way we won in Virginia, in New Jersey, in California, in Alabama, the way we just won in Texas, a 31-point swing in a state Senate election. We're going to keep going, and we have to defend those elections because Donald Trump, who obviously has no other program for America relating to health care, relating to housing for young people, relating to any public good, has one objective in mind, which is trying to steal the election the way he tried to steal it back in 2020 when he called the Republican Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger in Georgia, and said, I just want you to find me 11,780 votes. That wasn't Donald Trump trying to stop election fraud. That was Donald Trump trying to commit election fraud. And he did it all over the country, and he will try again. But we are ready for him, and we have people fighting all over America to defend the democratic institutions that we've got.
ICE has never been more unpopular. Donald Trump has never been more unpopular. He is doing the work of making the negative case against himself. How about we make the work of doing the affirmative case? Talking about how immigration has built, sustained, and will grow this country. Dismissing the narratives about crime. Actually fighting for people and standing up for our communities. Let's do that, and let's let Donald Trump handle humiliating himself, because he seems pretty good at it. We're going to keep on calling it out on this show. I'm going to try to bring fun news as much as I can because we deserve it. If you want to support that, hit that subscribe button and leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. See you next time.